Good evening, salam and greetings. I have three questions for me. Question from Richard, Washington, D.C. Is the army not enough, and therefore there is a need for a call for mobilization and recruiting the new generation to fight with the army? Uh, Another question from Susan from Nairobi. Will the mobilization bring the Islamists back to the power? She means to the government. Question from Tawsif, brother Tawsif from New York. Will the army announce its government, or they will wait for U.S. Saudi efforts, Jeddah negotiation? Okay, direct and frank, powerful questions. I like that. I will start as usual with the most controversial question. My way is that I face the biggest problem, and then I move to and put it aside, and then I move to discussing the rest of the question. Okay. Will the mobilization to fight against the militia restore the Islamists to power? This is a question. Okay. Let us say yes. Okay. Let us say yes. The answer is yes. Let us assume it's a big yes. Okay. Is the solution to stop the mobilization? Good. We stopped the mobilization. What will happen? Tribal militias and jihadists will appear. Not just that. RSF danger will increase, and similar militias to RSF will appear. This is scary, but this is true. Why this will happen if the army stop the mobilization and recruiting the citizen and allowing them to defend themselves under the control of the army? Because citizens without recruitment under the control of the professional army will resort to out of law and out of control arming, and it will be a suitable climate for great disasters to happen. All these groups will appear if the army stop the public mobilization. But my real answer to Susan's question is that the mobilization will certainly restore the strength and the popularity of all real powers on the ground, and that including the Islamists. But not the power, not the government. The government now is out of this question. Yes, perhaps the new popularity for the Islamists will benefit them when the election comes one day. So you should discuss democracy and human rights concepts and the dialogue between the West and the Muslim world. All this should be should be addressed and should be discussed with the Islamists in Sudan. If you like that, I'm ready to connect you with some of their speakers, thinkers, and to discuss with them. You can put them in a hot water trial. Whatever it is, mobilization can never be avoided. What the army did, according to security and intelligence calculation, is 100% perfect. The militia-led war targets the residential neighborhoods, and this requires role for the citizen to protect themselves and their property. The army must organize that. This is the role of the national army, because out of law arming is so bad. It is better to open doors for citizens to fight under the control of the army. Basically, the question about the return of Islamists to the power through election, let us just put some lines under this question, and my argument here is directed to the United States, which is part of the mediation. Basically, do you have a big problem with the former regime? This is not true. As far as America is concerned, cooperation with the former regime in Sudan achieved Nevaja Agreement of 2005, and that led to the independence of South Sudan. With the approval of the Islamists and the auspices of the United States of America. The South is 1/3 of the area of Sudan, 80% of the oil resources of Sudan, and was ceded during the era of the Islamists with a cooperation with United States. No one forget that. That means the cooperation happened before and it was possible. What a huge cooperation that makes 1/3 of a country pull out from unity. Therefore, talking about the failure of cooperation, that is something incorrect. The second question is the army is not enough. Therefore, the public mobilization is needed. That is a logic question. Why did the army, the Sudanese army, needs public mobilization? I think the army is enough, but with a higher humanitarian cost. The nature of the fighting now in Sudan is inside the residential neighborhoods, and that requires relying on qualified citizens because they are better in knowing their areas, and because this is the demand of the Sudanese people. And again, if the army ignore the demand of the Sudanese people, that I confirm to you, that will resort to out of law arming, and that is more disastrous. A similar question from the previous round of this very fruitful discussion. Why didn't the army finish the militia in a shorter time? A big professional army from the time of the World War II, Sudanese army, why the army is unable to finish it in a shorter time? The answer at first, is it just only militia rebellion? In fact, this is a foreign invasion, Sudan, with joint Sudanese foreign implementation. Wagner is present, mercenary fighters from the Sahel region are present, and they have videos. You can Google it. One of the opposition of the Chadian opposition were fighting there in the side of RSF. His name Juju. Brother Tausif can help you with googling that with the Arabic language, so that mercenaries from Mali, mercenaries from Niger, mercenaries from Central Africa. This is a foreign invasion for Sudan, and it is a big plan sponsored by some countries. Sudanese people know that, and there will be a day that all things and the names of those countries and the people will be named and shamed. So it is invasion. It is not just rebellion. If it was just a rebellion, it would be finished in a shorter time. But therefore, winning the war takes time, but it will happen at the end. And the Sudanese army will have a tremendous experience after that. And it is better for United States and Europe to be partners with Sudan to win the war. Okay, regarding the question is whether Al-Burhan will announce a government or will wait for the negotiation happening in Jeddah or any other place. The question is directed to the government. uh, I can check and discuss with some sources and come back to you in the second round with what is the vision of the government, what is the vision of political parties. I heard about الجبهة الوطنية, the National Front, which is a collection for groups of people and groups of politicians and leaders that they want to do something. But I'm not authorized to speak on behalf of them. But look here, let me tell you my personal opinion on this question from our brother Tawsif from New York. For me, it's an important matter. I think the performance of the state cabinets and the state governors and the provinces directors is more important than the sorry, than the federal government. The performance should be reviewed again and again, and there must be a broader power and authorities for the state governments and the state governor. Now, regarding the federal cabinet or the federal government, currently there is Osman Hussein. He is a bureaucrat. He's not a politician, and he is acting as a minister in charge of the council of the ministers. So, which is enough for me now, I think, and for Sudan, till the political powers come with a solid proposal. But some ministers currently they must be changed because there is a big criticism regarding Juba agreement, which is really now a source of problems because it gives some people part of the government, and now a big change happened, and Sudanese people are questioning their contribution in saving Sudan from the war. We need to review Juba agreement, Juba peace agreement, but that should happen with the Juba parties themselves.